everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. It's a small liberal arts college whose mission is to educate women and teach them to be leaders in their fields. It's called Bennett College, one of only 2 historically black colleges and universities exclusively for women. And today, the college is in trouble. It's in danger of losing its accreditation and may have to close its doors. Up next on Another View, the history of Bennett College, why it's struggling today, and why you should care. This one is personal for me. I'm a Bennett College graduate. The future of Bennett College. Stay tuned. Another View is next.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Before we get started with our topic today, which is my alma mater, Bennett College, a couple of announcements. I hope that you will join me this coming Monday on Martin Luther King Day in the morning and in the evening. There are 2 events going on that I have the honor and pleasure of serving as your MC. First one is the Urban League of Hampton Roads and Old Dominion University presents Legacies, Celebration of Unity, Service, and Leadership. This is the 35th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Community Leaders Breakfast. It is at 8 until 9:30 a.m. at the Ted Constant Convocation Center in Norfolk. Tickets are still available, so if you'd like to come on out and join us, the Honorable Gerald J. Jones will be the keynote speaker, and there will be folks receiving an award, and it's a wonderful event. So please come out and support the Urban League and Old Dominion University. And then on Monday evening at the Roper Center, the TCC Roper Performing Arts Center on Granby Street, there is the the Virginia Festival of Jewish Film. And in honor of Dr. King, they are showing the movie called I'm looking for the name of it right here. I am so sorry. I just forgot the name of the movie. This is terrible. At any rate, the movie is called An Act of Defiance. There it is. An Act of Defiance. And it is from starting at 6 p.m. on Monday, the 21st. The panelists, there will be a panel discussion immediately following the movie, and Rabbi Jeffrey Arnowitz with Congregation Bethel, Paula Bazemore, Virginia Center for Inclusive Communities, and Reverend Dr. Sharon Riley, pastor of Faith Deliverance Christian Center in Norfolk, will be on the panel. This is in partnership with the Jewish Federation of Tidewater's Community Relations Council and Hands United Building Bridges. There's a discussion, as I said, following the film. The film is excellent. I did get a chance to watch it last night. It is free and open to the public, but you do need to register. So go online to the United Jewish Federation of Tidewater, to their website, and you can find ticket information there, and you can also register there. So hope to see you on Monday. Lots of things going on in celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King. So I remember it like it was yesterday, August of 1974, when I began my freshman year at Bennett College in Greensboro, North Carolina. I was excited and scared, wondering how would I fare being so far away from my hometown of Baltimore, and just how would I like going to school with only girls. And 4 years later, I emerged a graduate of Bennett College, confident in my communication skills and ready to conquer the world because of the excellent education and experiences I had while a student there. And that's probably the experience of the majority of Bennett Bells, an experience that current students may not have if the college cannot win its appeal of the decision to strip it of its accreditation by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, or SACS. So what happened, and what can we do to ensure the future of Bennett College? We are honored to have as our guest via phone the Vice President of Institutional Advancement for Bennett College, Mr. LaDaniel Gatling. How are you, sir?
How are you? Thank you for having me on today.
Yeah, we're great. We're glad to have you. Thank you so much. The president of the Bennett College National Alumni Association, Ms. Gwendolyn Mackel Rice, class of 61. Hello, Ms. Rice. How are you?
Hello, how are you? Glad to be on, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me. And joining me in the studio is the president of the Tidewater Chapter of our Alumni Association, Dr. Judith Brooks Buck. How are you, Judith?
I'm just fine and just glad to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. Class of 71. Yes, ma'am. And Dr. Cassandra Newby-Alexander, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and our favorite historian from Norfolk State University. Yeah, we had to let a Spartan in the room. How are you doing, Cassandra?
I'm just fine. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, thank you for being here. Now, we had the president of Bennett College, Dr. Phyllis Worthy Dawkins, scheduled as our guest, but unfortunately she had to cancel this morning. But Mr. Gatling has graciously agreed to step in, and so we're happy for that. But Gwen, I would like to start with you because I want to talk, before we talk about what the issues are today, for those who may not be familiar with Bennett College, give us a little bit of history.
Okay, glad to. Bennett College is one of two historically black colleges for women, and the only one in the state of North Carolina. It was founded in 1873 as a co-ed seminary and a normal school, and it operated for 53 years until 1926. When the Women's Home Missionary Society of the United Methodist Church established it as a college for women, realizing that women needed a separate kind of education that could put them on a trajectory for better serving the community. And there were more women going to school at that time. The school was named for Lyman Bennett, who gave the first $10,000 for purchase of land for building, for the buildings at that time. However, David Dallas Jones and his wife Susie Jones really did the template that we know as Bennett College today. Mm-hmm. And Bennett is known for high academic expectations, a supportive peer culture, the presence of role models, and emphasis on getting back to the community, and an awareness of societal realities that face African American women. Let me just share that over the last 146 years since Bennett has been in existence, there have been 18 presidents. 8 of them were before Bennett was founded as a college for women, and the last 10 since 1926. Notable among those are, of course, Dr. David Dallas Jones and Willoughby Player, who was the first woman to become a president, the first African-American woman to become a president of four-year college, and maybe one among the first, I'm sure among the first of women across the country to serve as the president of a four-year college. Another president whom many of you know, Janetta B. Cole, who also served as president of Spelman College, and so she's the only one to serve as president of both colleges for African-American women. Julianne Malvo is another, Gloria Scott, who served for a number of years, and Esther Terry, the first alumna president, served us for a couple of years and did a stellar job in transitioning for another president, Rosalind Fuse Hall, and finally Dr. Phyllis Worthy Dawkins, who's the current president.
And she's also a Bennett graduate too. Is that right or not?
No, she is not.
Okay.
Esther Terry is the only one. Dr. Dawkins graduated from Johnson C. Smith.
Okay.
Now, I want to highlight what Bennett has produced. Bennett has produced stellar alumni, including you, Barbara Ham, who...
Thank you.
And but they are all over the place. The thing is, many people don't really know how much Bennett women have done. The first surgeon in the South was Dr. Dorothy Brown. Carolyn Payton was the first woman and African American. They had the Peace Corps. Yvonne Johnson was the first mayor of Greensboro, North Carolina, and still serves as mayor pro tem now. And I'd like to say this: a graduate of class of 2013, 5 years ago, was elected. She's a teacher in Berkeley, California. She was the first teacher elected to the Berkeley School Board. So Bennett women do those kinds of things, but you don't hear a lot about it. And of course, Bennett women were very involved in the sit-in movement of the 60s, but also in the 30s, believe it or not, against the movies and their showing of blacks in roles that we didn't honor, that did not honor us. Mm-hmm. And in the 60s also, we registered thousands of people in the community to vote when the vote was first offered to, universally offered to black people at the time. So the slogan now is Bennett Bells are voting bells. So they continue to carry that on. And the alumni, I want to make this plug also, that last year we increased double our giving 100%. From a little over $1 million in 2017 to over $2 million in 2018. So, and I'm expecting we've raised the bar even higher this year. So that's
That's the history.
In a nutshell.
You did an excellent job of condensing all of that, of those 146 years into a very understandable feeling about Bennett. And Dr. Brooks Buck, you were talking about your experience during the late 60s, the very traumatic time in our country, and Bennett women also experienced what was happening.
We absolutely did. In my freshman year, the spring semester of my freshman year, Dr. Martin Luther King was killed. And so when we came back from the Easter break, we, of course, dressed in our black dresses in mourning for his death. But after the violence erupted in Greensboro, a lot of people tell stories about violence all over the country, but you rarely hear, unless they are people who are there, about what happened at A&T State University in Scott Hall. We were there. We could hear the gunshots from the National Guard and other folks who were shooting into the dormitory. The young man that was killed, the young man that was killed there, and the three who were wounded, we were there for those experiences and the times after that, tumultuous times in
and Bennett women were also a part of the sit-in.
Bennett women were indeed, if you look at pictures of the sit-in, you may see some people standing behind the young men who were at the lunch counter with their gloves and their hats on, because that was the way we dressed when we went out shopping. They were a little bit earlier than me, but they were there. And so it's been a long road and a long struggle, but Bennett had so much to offer in terms of leadership. And one of the things that we learned as well was paying things forward and giving back to the community. I'm the vice chair of the school board in Suffolk Public Schools, but one of my sisters from the class of 70 was on Chesapeake School Board. Sheila Gibbs, I don't know what her married name is, but she was on the school board when we moved back home. So we had some wonderful experiences. We had some very tough times, and we were there in the late 60s, and I'm a 71 graduate. We had some interesting experiences as well.
And today, the students that are attending the school still have that same feeling of not only the history, but also the importance of getting an education from Bennett.
Absolutely. And we actually have 4 fresh women from our area, the Tidewater area, who are attending Bennett at this time. So what we want to do is make sure that we assure them that they don't have to worry about breaks in their education. They've chosen Bennett for a reason. And we want to do everything we can to make sure that they'll be able to finish their degrees and move on as we did.
So, Cassandra, we're talking about a HBCU, a small school, but a significant school. And I know that there are some in my audience that are going, when are they going to get past this HBCU thing? And why didn't everybody just go, why is this so important that we continue to support HBCUs? What would you say?
I usually ask the question, is that the same question asked of American Catholic University or any of these other institutions that are either a religious organization or were there and established to train white, upper class white men, such as the College of William and Mary or the University of Virginia? We don't ask those questions. But we do ask them of HBCUs. And part of that issue has to do with the fact that HBCUs are a visible reminder that America had and continues to have a racialized society. And so to obliterate HBCUs means to obliterate the visual representation of what continues to exist in American society. But those universities and colleges were not created because of segregation. They were created to produce young people who would be the pioneers and the professionals, especially in the African American community. I think about the university that I'm a member of, which is Norfolk State University. It was created by teachers, ministers, principals, entrepreneurs, professionals across the board here in Norfolk, Virginia, to produce professionals who would remain in Norfolk to help the city to grow and to flourish. It was not created just because Black people couldn't go to white schools. Many of them didn't want to go to those white schools because of the level of prejudice and discrimination that existed in those schools, but also because the culture that had emerged under extreme segregation in our society, the white culture was so isolated from everything else that was unappealing to a number of African Americans. It wasn't an open culture where you saw the free flow of ideas and attitudes and thoughts. To give you an example, especially for those listeners, Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley, when he grew up going to a Black church. He loved gospel music. And yet when his career was launched, his promoter and manager wanted to distance him from Blackness. And so he created this image of Elvis Presley as a bigot. Elvis Presley's music was not at all influenced by Black music. It stood apart and alone and separate. And we know that was not the reality. But that's an example of how when extreme, and I say extreme segregation because it was segregation by law, both federal, state, and local law. And it was enforced in the North, South, East, and West. There's this myth that it only existed in the South, but it existed everywhere in this country. And so during that extreme period, we would see white society isolate itself while at the same time appropriating Black culture and trying to make it white culture by removing any images or vestiges of Blackness. And so it's in that environment that HBCUs became even more important. And even today, most people don't realize that HBCUs are producing still the majority of Black scientists, the majority of Black scholars. But of course, racism continues to exist in the 1970s and 80s, for example, here in Virginia. If you had any universities within the same region, like here you have Norfolk State and Old Dominion. If Old Dominion had a master's program in history, Norfolk State University was not allowed to establish a master's program in history.
So there was institutional ways also in terms of keeping the universities and the colleges separate in terms of what they could teach.
Right. Not only separate, the claim was duplication, but the issue is we would not be really competing with Old Dominion because the interests of the faculty were different. And so this was established as a way really to hurt HBCUs because they knew that many HBCUs had not been given the authority or permission to establish graduate level programs at the same pace and level as majority institutions. So there's a long history, it's very complicated, but unfortunately what a lot of people do is they want to package it together in a very, very shortened and often wrong way or incorrect way of looking at HBCUs simply as an institution created under segregation for Black people to go to school. And that's why then they come up with the question, why do they need to exist today?
Gotcha.
May I add to her point? The last time I did some research on this was in the early 2000s. In 2000, as far up as that in our history, 85% of African American military officers were graduates of historically black colleges and universities. Later than that, around 2010, 50% of African American teachers were graduates of historically black colleges and universities. My daughter is a scientist, a graduate of Bennett College, class of 1994, and works now as a biostatistician in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. But we have contributed as a university to the numbers of black female scientists who are part of our country and working in the U.S. today. So there are so many contributions that we have to make, even with the shadow of stereotypic notions over our heads. I taught it when I retired as a principal from public schools and worked for a company. When I left there, I started working at Hampton University, teaching there at Hampton University and chair of their education department. During that period of time, I did a lot of research on that, is on the issues of where we were and what we were and expectations for HBCUs. Stereotypes were still out there with regard to the technology we had. As late as 2014 or 2015, I hosted an event for leaders in educational leadership at Virginia State University, where I was teaching and where I ultimately retired from. They came in and they were surprised to find that we had whiteboards and LCD projectors and whatever else. So I know that those stereotypic notions exist,
that these schools
and
did not
they
have
feed that they are somehow
inferior.
so far back and they're inferior, and you can't possibly get a quality education when you attend. And a lot of people discuss the support you get and whatever, but as I've studied it and thought about it, the level of expectation that is there, and I know Ron Edmonds and a lot of people, when they were looking at effective schools, talked about what things really influenced performance and completion and whatever. Mm-hmm. And when I went to Bennett, when my husband went to Norfolk State, the expectation was that you have the ability to finish. And I think that is a key piece in what we contribute as historically black colleges and universities.
Universities today. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call. Would love to hear from Bennett women all over the country today. Tell us your Bennett story. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So, Mr. Gatling, let's bring it up to the present, because we know that a letter came in December that SACS is going to remove Bennett from its membership. Can you kind of bring us up to speed on what happened and why this is such an issue today?
Oh, yeah, no problem. First, if you will, let me just say that I talked to Dr. Dawkins, and she would want to be here this morning. At the last minute, she was called away out of town to meet with some potential donors that could help our cause significantly. So she sends her regrets and wish she could be here. But hopefully I will be able to answer the questions and do well in her stead. So December 11th, we actually received a notification from SACS that we were going to be removed from membership. So at that point, we moved into an appeal process in order to retain our accreditation. And so we are accredited. We have not lost our accreditation, and we will be accredited throughout the appeals process. At that point, we, working with some of our consultants, looked at some of the findings, and we were able to diagnose the situation, because we were only called on one fighting for SACS accreditation, which was not having financial resources, lack of financial resources. So
that's
SACS,
the only reason is the fact that they're worried about our financial stability. It has nothing to do with the teachers, the faculty, the campus,
correct.
None of that, just the financial stability. Correct. Not just, but
correct.
the financial
SACS
stability. Okay.
They have 90 standards. We were only called on one. and that was financial resources.
Now, we were on probation for 2 years, is that right? Prior to this decision?
Prior to, yes.
Okay. And what happened in that 2-year period?
So in that 2-year period, actually, we began to right-size the institution and put this on a track because, again, at that time, financial resources was a big piece of that, and we went through and started putting the college on the right trajectory to become fiscally stable. And it actually has been working that way since that 2-year period, where we have actually grown our enrollment by 15%. Our retention is up by 9%. We have 26% as far as students actually staying on campus. Again, we put a cost containment strategy in place. So we were doing the things we needed to do to become fiscally, show that we are fiscally stable. During that period of time, we received a deferment from the federal government, which allowed us gave us a 6-year period of time to not pay on some federal loans, HBCU capital loans, that will, again, allow us to stabilize and build our cash reserves. And as of this past fiscal year, we actually ended with a surplus. So, again, we're trending in the right direction, but that SACS felt that when it came down to our cash reserves and the amount of debt that we were carrying at the time, that there was not enough to operate the institution long term. We're talking 1 to 3 years out.
Okay.
So
Hang on just 1 second for me, if you would, please. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the future of Bennett College and other HBCUs with Mr. LaDaniel Gatling, Vice President of Institutional Advancement for Bennett College, Ms. Gwendolyn Mackel Rice, President of the Bennett College National Alumni Association, Dr. Judith Brooks Buck, President of the Tidewater Chapter, and Dr. Cassandra Newby-Alexander, Historian and Dean of the College of Liberal Arts for Norfolk State University. Mr. Gatling, the recession in 2010, was that the period where we started really having the financial issues that lead up to why there's the financial instability now?
The recession did have a major part in this. And as a small private liberal arts institution, we are mostly dependent on tuition. We're tuition driven and fundraising. So during that period of time when there was some changes and the recession and it kind of hit, and our enrollment numbers dipped some, which again has an effect on the revenue that comes into the institution. It's been somewhat of a snowball effect over a period of years, and even though we are doing things to erase some of those of what has happened over the past decade, again, SACS did not feel it was enough to demonstrate that we had enough resources in hand in our cash reserves and carrying a little bit too much debt in order to sustain the college going forward.
So when we go back to the appeal is in the middle of February, and we are in the process now of trying to raise $5 million plus to show more financial stability. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And SACS can then say, yes, we're okay, or they can still say no. What happens if they say no?
Well, if what we're doing now between the December 11th date and our appeal date, which is around February 18th, we are gathering information. We're having this fundraiser and doing what we need to show fiscal stability. So SACS will allow us to introduce new information from that period of time until that around February 4th, actually. And if we can demonstrate that we have brought in enough financial resources, then they make a decision positive in our favor. If for some reason that SACS says no, it is not enough, we have been authorized to move into a legal situation with SACS, and file a lawsuit with SACS, and this is somewhat of the protocol, and which will allow us to retain our accreditation throughout the litigation process. while we are doing that, we're also looking at other accrediting bodies that we will apply to make sure we can continue to be accredited through another body. So we may be accredited by 2 bodies at some point if we aren't successful with SACS. But again, we will not lose accreditation throughout the process.
Okay,
and
so
I think
students,
that's important for people to know.
Right, so students who are there now, who will graduate in June or May, rather, Mother's Day, and are underclassmen, they are still attending an accredited university college, correct?
Yes. And seniors this year will graduate from an accredited institution. And again, our goal is we will not have any type of gap when it comes to our accreditation.
Okay, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call. I'd love to hear from some Bennett Bells. Tell us your experience. Tell us what you're thinking about the college and ways that you think that you can get involved to make sure that the college continues. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Mark joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Mark. You're on the air.
Hey, good afternoon to you and your guest.
Thank you.
Graduate of Norfolk State University. And I guess the thing that's got me so impassioned about this discussion is when you talked about the stereotypes and the stereotypical leanings of, I guess how American society saw Black people overall, and especially in the professional class and the professional teaching class. I think that is what really makes the HBCU special, because the teachers and the professors know that they've got an X on their back and they've got something to prove. And then that's where the beauty kicks in, because then the professor says, with a high level of invigoration, commitment, and dedication, they're telling that student, I can't succeed without you. Without you mastering what I have to give you, I have no credibility. And so in that unification of both the student and the professional teacher being looked at as the odd person out, that's really what spawned the magic of the historical Black college and university and made it flourish. And for those who want to ask why they're still necessary, I would definitely say one thing is that our schools were one of the most vibrant things going through the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And then it was at that point when others felt like it was more profitable and beneficial to their institutions, that's when the scholarships started popping up and for our athletes to get them on TV. That's when we started losing all of our professional level quality of play on the athletic field. And that's where a lot of our academic genius started to leave our schools. And so it was because of the Black flight is why we're here in a situation where the HBCUs are struggling.
Okay, thanks so much for the call, Mark. Anybody want to respond? Gwen, we haven't heard from you for a while. You want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think his points are quite valid. Truly, it's been difficult for HBCUs to retain a number of faculty because the draw and the salaries that are offered in other places. But we also find that there are many faculty and academics who want to teach in the HBCU because they know they can make a difference among our young people. But I want to add something to the $5 million. Most of you know that $5 million, once we get the $5 million, then so what? The trustees as well as the alumni are working on parallel paths, but working in unison to look at ways to re-engineer Bennett, because the only way a college can be sustained is to look at itself and to determine what is needed so that we don't stay in this situation. The key is fiscal stability and fiscal sustainability. And we sustain ourselves by looking at our academic programs, what draws students in, what kind of services we can offer them. Our leadership, our trustees, we have to examine ourselves and come up with a plan so that we are sustained for the long haul. Mm-hmm. The trustees have begun to work on that and are recruiting some high-level people to serve on that committee, as well as those who can do a lot of the work around that. And you should be hearing about that not long from now. By the same token, the alumni are also working on a revitalization plan and engaging alums, because we have many very talented alums across the board who want to work on the issues. So we're looking at that, and I want you to know that we know, and I'm sure many people know, and particularly those who want to give, want to know, what happens once we give that $5 million. As you know, $5 million is not a whole lot of money. It's a lot for us, but it's not a whole lot of money in the long run. So we want to be sustained for the rest of life. We cannot continue to operate. We can, as we have been, and it's been very difficult. And let me just say this also: being on probation and the position we are in is a catch-22 for raising funds. As you know, foundations and corporations generally don't want to give to an institution that's on probation. So that's been a struggle for Bennett for several years now. Mm-hmm. Once we move on and our accreditation status is restored, I am sure that we can begin to generate those dollars to sustain Bennett for the long haul.
And Gwen, I want you to pat yourself on the back a little bit here, though, too, because I read a statistic that in terms of HBCUs and alumni giving, it's around 10%. And actually for Bennett alumni, it's like in the 30s. Mm-hmm. Like 36%. That is fantastic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What you doing, girl?
I think what we want to be mindful of, Bennett women have always been in the forefront of giving. Even when I was a student, which was a few years ago, Bennett was number one for a number of years, and we may rise back to that status this year, next year.
That's fantastic.
Because our giving increased by 100%. And there are some schools that have more alumni who given, but not as much. And so, we have those who beat us, let's say, they have more alums given, and that's what counts, how many alums give. But also the amount we give makes a difference.
So we are small and mighty.
Absolutely.
There we go. Our phone lines are.
We love our school.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we love our school. The trustees met with a group of students back in November, and all by ourselves, and 100% of the trustees were there. And the students certainly had complaints. Students always have complaints, but right now with the school under stress, there might be a few more. But the girls still expressed great love for Bennett. Wanting to be there despite what goes on, and even now. The students are raising money. They are challenging other HBCUs to give and support. You should hear our SGA president. She is awesome.
Wow.
The love for Bennett, I just can't begin to say. I could share my story, but I won't.
Well, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go to the phones because they are lit up, and I want to get a chance for some of the other alumni to be able to talk to us too. So Jennifer joins us from Greensboro. Hi, Jennifer. You're on the air.
Hi, Barbara. How are you?
I'm the class of 78.
Class of 78. We're here. Barbara and I are classmates, and I just want to thank you, Barbara, for bringing this to your show, because I don't know what we do without a show like yours, bringing so Bennett, people can know about Bennett. I'm kind of disappointed the president is not there, but I hope she's somewhere getting a $5 million check.
That's right.
And that would make it all worthwhile.
Absolutely.
But I just want to say, I came to Bennett in '74 from Philadelphia, not knowing a soul in North Carolina, being the first college attendee in my family, baby of the family. I'm the first one to go to college. My sisters have since gone, but I was the first one to go to college, new experience, bright-eyed, coming to Bennett, didn't know anybody, and Bennett became, my soul. I love Bennett. I love Bennett. Bennett opened my eyes to so many things. I've developed I knew sisterhood more than just my sisters at home.
Yeah.
My sisters in college, I'm so close to them now. So many of them, we're still sisters. We are still sisters.
Yes, we are.
I knew I had to get up and go to class every day, even though everything was new for me coming to Bennett. I saw some people that didn't get that. But I just learned so much about just getting it done.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the way it was. I mean, that's what they taught us. Thanks so much, Jennifer, for the call. We really appreciate it. Let's talk to Avante Allen Benson from Virginia Beach. Hi, Avante, how are you? I think we might have had a problem with our phone. So, okay, we'll keep talking until we can try to hopefully get that straightened out. Are we okay? Avante, are you there? All right, let's move on then. So, Gwen, let me ask you a question. When you talked about the fact that the college needs to reinvent itself, what are some of the talk, or what are some of the plans in terms of what happens moving forward? Because we're going to be positive that we're going to raise the money we need, and we're going to move forward and get the accreditation. So what are we doing to make sure that we can ensure that we're still attracting the best and the brightest to come to Bennett College?
Well, number one is the academic program. It's good now, but it can be more targeted to 21st century learning and 21st century careers, and also to preparing our young women for a workforce that is constantly changing. As you know, Bennett is a liberal arts college, and I trust that it will remain a liberal arts college because the liberal arts prepare you for problem solving, for leadership, for thinking creatively and thinking out of the box, and for lifelong learning as well. And so Bennett, I'm sure, will come up with our plans, and I'm not an academician, I'll tell you that, but to continue what we do well, like in journalism, as you well know, as in social work, as in entrepreneurship, as in science. And how we look at science in other ways, certainly STEAM careers, but more so to prepare us. I think Miss Buck, Dr. Buck, just mentioned that her daughter was a biostatistician.
Yes,
that's a real critical career, and I can think of several biostatisticians and statisticians who are Bennett graduates doing quite well. I think of one who is a PhD from Emory and is a professor there, and now is a fellow with the American Statistical Association. Those careers we need to buttress some more. So we need to make sure that our students are getting what they need, although they can be supplemented at the other schools in the consortium in Greensboro. But Bennett hopefully will strengthen its role in those areas. So our young ladies automatically move into the careers for this century.
Gotcha. Mr. Gatling, what's going on in terms of recruitment for next year? I mean, because I know that in the midst of all of this, you still have a college to run. And so I am assuming things are still moving forward.
Things are still moving forward, and believe it or not, we have over 3,000 applications to Bennett as it stands right now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We had a very good freshman class last year, over 200 students, and it was an average GPA of 3.2. We're looking at some of the same statistics as far as the profiles of the students this year for incoming class. So the word, I tell people a lot that, we don't necessarily like how we've gotten here, but Bennett College right now is one of the most talked about HBCUs around the globe. And we are really trying to show that we are a place to be, and that we, like Trustee Rice said, we will get past this $5 million point, and we will move to re-engineer this institution to be what we know it is. So, but there are young women of color all over that are still looking at Bennett College and are ready to come.
Great. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. If you went to Bennett, give us a call and tell us how you fared. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Paul joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Paul. You're on the air. I guess we're having phone issues. Let's try Valerie in Chesapeake. Hi, Valerie. You're on the air.
Good afternoon. How are you?
We're doing good.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah. So my question is, even though I've never attended Bennett. I was a Norfolk State alum, but and I haven't heard too much about Bennett. But one of my questions was if you would ever consider thinking about having more of like a satellite school that would pertain to the academics that are at Bennett College, either in the North Carolina area or in the Virginia area where I'm from, in order to attract more students, especially more female students, because I feel that with a lot of I work around a lot of young females in the area, and we basically work a lot in healthcare, especially working with individuals with special needs, or work in nursing care, CNA programs, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard some great things, as far as some things about what Bennett College probably has to offer. So do you think a satellite school could also be beneficial in order to actually help to bring in more students?
Well, let me put it out to the panel then. Thanks so much for the call, Valerie. We appreciate that. Dr. Brooks?
If we think in terms of, and I'm thinking you're thinking about offering maybe online courses or having a different campus. Is that what you're considering as you speak?
Absolutely, yes.
I'm sure that we will have some hybrid classes as we look at remodeling Bennett, and the other two people who are there on the grounds can tell us more about that if we're doing that. But in this day and time, we do a lot of things. And, of course, Bennett has access to that technology, as do other HBCUs, so that we can offer courses in different places. Now, the concern, again, is expense and keeping up those things. So if we're trying to do something off the campus, it would not be at this time, although it may be a future kind of thing. And, again, we can offer things online that are actually being taught on the grounds at the actual campus. Mm-hmm. And could be offered in other places and may indeed be doing that.
We got about 6 minutes left in this hour. Doesn't it fly by?
Oh.
I want to talk to Avante Allen Benson. Let's try you again. Hi, Avante. You're on the air.
Hello, Barbara. This is Avante. I made it through this time.
Yes,
Hello.
You made it through. Another Bennett Bell. Yes.
Yes, class of 1984.
Yes.
Bennett is my heart. I love Bennett College. That was one of the best decisions that my mom, as a single mother, allowed me to make. It was a sacrifice, but it was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the best 4 years. I could not put a price tag. If I had $5 million, that would not be enough to give back to Bennett. And I'm tearing up right now, but I'm not. Also, the National Council of Negro Women, Norfolk State University section, I just left Norfolk State. They are having a fundraiser for Bennett College. They are standing with Bennett.
Oh, fantastic.
So if you like to go by Norfolk State between now and 2 o'clock, they're taking donations.
Okay.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Avante, for calling in and for letting us know that. So, yes, there is a very active social media campaign, #StandWithBennett. And Mr. Gatling, if people want to find out more about what they can do to help, what's the website? Where should they go?
Yes, the website is bennett.edu, www.bennett.edu. And right now, as soon as you come to our homepage, you will see the Stand with Bennett page, and there are buttons for you to learn more, make a donation, purchase apparel. We have assets there where if you want to share them via social media or a letter campaign, we try to put as much information as possible on our website for anybody who would like to join us in this effort to reach out to your networks to try to get more people to stand with Bennett.
Okay. Let's try to see if we can get one more call in. Sandra joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, Sandra. You on the air?
Hi, Barbara. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
I just wanted to call in, Bennett class of 73, and first of all say mobilization, and that's what we're doing. I've been excited by the emails and everything that Bennett is doing. And sometimes, when things like this happen, we do our best work because we come together. I think there's a saying in a movie called Little Women that says necessity is the mother of invention. So we look at things maybe in a different way. So just want to encourage the panel. And I'm also grateful for the prayers that are occurring on Sundays.
Thank you so very much for the call. We appreciate that. Go ahead, Dr. Newby-Alexander.
I just wanted to say that Bennett College, like most of the HBCUs throughout the country, are if they are going to not only survive but thrive, and this is something that the other panelists have said, they must reinvent themselves. And I remind people that it takes about 20 years to get into the new century. And so we're at a critical juncture here, 2019. We're almost into the 21st century. And so all of the HBCUs must start looking at their curricula. They must begin to look at their practices and their procedures. They must begin to actively engage their alum, not just in participating in events coming up or in homecoming, but rather consistently giving back to the schools, because that has been the strength in the Black community, and that has been the strength in the past of HBCUs. But sometime between the 1970s and early 2000, many people forgot. They forgot how important HBCUs were. And in the light of so many people writing articles, and I'm talking about African Americans writing articles saying that HBCUs don't need to exist anymore. Yeah. We started to see this cloud of witnesses that were actually erasing the meaning and the purpose and the value of HBCUs. Now we're coming back to that. Many African American scholars are coming back to HBCUs because of what they can contribute and the environment that's there.
And you know what? The Spartan got the last word because we are out of time. Dr. Cassandra Newby-Alexander with Norfolk State University, Dr. Judith Brooks Buck with Bennett College, the president of the Tidewater Chapter of the Bennett College National Alumni Association. Thank you so very much to Gwen Mackel Rice, president of the Bennett College National Alumni Association. Thank you, Gwen, so much for joining us today. And Mr. LaDaniel Gatling, vice president of institutional advancement for Bennett College. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Bennett.edu if you'd like to find out more. And I'd love to thank
BCNAA.org if you want to find out more for alumni giving. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so very much. And thank you, audience, for spending your time with us. If you'd like to hear the show again or share it with a friend, please visit our website, anotherviewradio.org, and download the podcast. And while you're there, please sign up for our eView newsletter. It's a once-a-week reminder of upcoming programs. We're on Facebook, so like us, and I'm on Twitter at Barbara Ham Lee. Next week on Another View, it's Another View on Health with another newbie, Dr. Keith Newby.
What am I doing?
Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Todd Washburn is our audio engineer. And Jimmy Cooper answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. I hope to see many of you at the events happening on Monday for Martin Luther King Day. And thank you so very, very much for listening to Another View.